Is it your turn?
My first semester I had a 4.0. I was in the Honor Society and things were looking up, but there were a couple things in the works that kind of changed our direction a little bit. One was that our first child was born, and my wife and I had talked about the fact that you can starve as two, but we're less sure if we could starve as three. That combined with the fact that we'd have a very nice Christmas visit with my parents on our family farm, and they were growing and doing some things that it looked like a good opportunity. And later that year, when that opportunity came up, we took it and moved back to Washington. I had been farming with my family for over 20 years since leaving college, and figured that was going to be what I did for the rest of my life. We'd had a few years where farming had been very difficult. And we finally came to the decision that as much as we thought this was going to be all we were doing for our entire life, that we needed to make some tough decisions and make some changes. We were at an end with our farming career, that farming was no longer an option for us, no longer an option that would make any money for us. So in the summer of 2006, we decided to sell our farm. And as good of a career as that had been, I really came to the conclusion that a future really needed to include a college education. I could see that it would open more options, more doors for me, and so I had to look in that direction. In church, on the bulletin board there, was a poster from the Bachelor of General Studies program. I'm sure I'd walked by that many times before, never seen it or glanced at it just for a second and thought nothing of it. But at this point it took on some meaning as a potential option. And so we decided to take a look at the possibilities there with going back to school and getting that Bachelor of General Studies degree. After selling the farm, we had to decide what to do next. I had spoken to a few businesses in town, and as I was doing that, a couple other options came open to me. One was I started substitute teaching. The other option that came open was working in our hospital. But it didn't start off that easily. My first night working as a greeter in the emergency room, within the first couple hours there were two kids that threw up in that waiting room, and I started thinking, what have I gotten myself into? I was worried I was going to get sick myself. Just a couple months before, I'd been in business. I had a dozen employees. I was, managing, an establishment here. And at that point, I really started reflecting on Joseph of Egypt, who was sold into slavery and decided to be the best slave he could be. Was sent to jail and decided to be the best prisoner he could be. In the end, things worked out for him, although it wasn't evident at the beginning. And that was the attitude I decided I would take, that although this didn't look that fun to me that first night, I was going to be the best emergency room greeter I could be. And so I did, and people did take notice, and when a full-time position opened up in the hospital's Human Resources Department, I got the job. Even though when I started my degree, I had the thought in mind of becoming a history teacher, I'm no longer in that position. Nevertheless, the degree is still of benefit to me because it is a stepping stone for me in my current career. My goal at this point, having recently moved into hospital administration, is to get a master's in healthcare administration degree. People ask me, well, do you miss the farm? Do you miss what you used to do? And to be honest, I don't look back much. I'm enjoying the life that I have now and the opportunities that it gives me. My wife, she gave me a card one day, and it said, whichever way, let's go there together. And that we have done.
Finish at home what you started at BYU. Bachelor of General Studies. Is it your turn?